Hey everyone, we're live, pal. Myself here, Double G, with Andrew Zarian, and we're going to talk about everything that happened at Wrestlemania 38, as well as the Raw after Wrestlemania. Andrew, I have one question for you to start off this show.
Yeah, man.
Is the Raw after WrestleMania dead? You remember how hyped
The
that show used to be? Tickets used to go nuts for that show. And I watched yesterday's show, and I don't know what happened.
I'll tell you
Ezekiel?
the ratings were good. I don't know if you saw that. The
No, I haven't
ratings
seen it
came
yet.
out; they were good. I got to tell you, this was the first Raw after WrestleMania that I didn't feel that it was must see TV. That I have to watch. At 8 o'clock, 7:58. I got to be in
Right.
front of my TV waiting for Raw to come on. Listen. I've done this my entire life. Watching wrestling. This was one of the first ones that I didn't feel that it was a priority, but I think some of that is a little bit biased. I'm exhausted from this weekend, and it's quite possible that other people, fatigue set in. It's a lot of wrestling.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Not only did fatigue set in for the fans, fatigue set in for WWE Creative yesterday because there was not a whole lot on that show.
Do you
Like,
want
well,
the Do
if
you want the rating?
I saw the number, yeah, go ahead and
Okay,
explain the number.
2.1 million, which is the highest since January 4th. Their demo
Of
18 to
2021,
49
actually.
of 2021. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. January 4th of 20. What was January 4th, 2021?
Uh, I don't remember.
I don't know either.
But
Yeah, I don't know.
we've mentioned this. They did a really good job of promoting this show. Now,
Yeah.
promotion in the sense of it wasn't like, they did different variations. They did the big title match where we saw Roman and Brock on pretty much every week, and then they did the secret stuff with Cody, the secret stuff with Austin where we didn't really see them. So I thought it was a really smart mix, and I'm not surprised to see that number. My hope, though, is what does that number mean next week? Because
Yeah, well, that's what it is, right?
did people who came back, going over 2 million for the show is excellent. But those who came back, are they going to then come back next week, or are we going to see a giant drop off to basically what it was before?
You
Because
know,
if I'm that fan, like you explained, if I'm that fan who, you know, you're so excited for this Raw after WrestleMania, and then what they gave you, it was okay, nothing special. The crowd wasn't even that hyped, so I'm not sure. I feel like maybe it's going to be rough to keep it up.
Garrett, here, I have a question for you. Okay, and this is a great question for the audience too. So people, they can leave this in the chat when we're done with the show, or they can leave it in the comments. What is the last night after WrestleMania that you remember as being, oh my God, this is memorable? I know exactly what mine is.
Well, why don't you say it? Because I have a different way to answer that show or to answer that question based on a show that I went to that was the Raw after Mania.
It would have to be Brock Lesnar's return. That was the last time I remember something tremendous happening. That in my mind, I mean, I'm sure other things happen, right? It's been years,
So
but
that would
in
have
my mind, that is the
been,
last important one.
is that 2013? Is that the
13
one
or
that you're
11?
talking about?
13. No,
So it would have been
it would be
after Rock
13.
and Cena, right? After Rock and Cena,
Yeah,
WrestleMania 29. Yeah. So
yeah,
whatever that date is. Okay. So I'll
yeah.
tell you. WrestleMania 31 is
2012.
in. Okay, there you go. WrestleMania 31 is in Santa Clara. I thought it was such a fun live show. My kids came with me, and neither of them are really watching wrestling right now, but they really loved that live show. And so then the next day, had some tickets to the Raw after Mania. And I came away with two main things from that show. One, the Raw after Mania live crowd, lots of jerks in that crowd. And two, the creative is spent. They if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense in that you build up to this giant show, the giant show's over, then there's sort of like this like, okay, take a deep breath kind of moment, right? But no, because of WWE TV, you got to be ready for the next day to have another show, which is kind of like the kickoff to whatever you're going to do. I think that has been really hard for them these last few years.
Yeah,
They've
very
been
much so.
really also the thing that they've been really bad about, which is all only thing what the fans want, right? They just want the surprises. They want who's coming. We got the Cody thing, so that was great. And so Cody opens up this show. But who was the NXT crossover person who's like, oh, now we'll have, this is going to be a new person you can watch. There's I forget what year it was, but I think a lot of people expected the Undisputed Era to come up one of those years, and then they didn't.
And they didn't. Yeah.
And like that Monday night Raw After Mania crowd was just anticipating. Like that live crowd was like, okay, we're going to get it. When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Then the show goes off the air and it never happened. And now that entire team is outside of Roddy Strong is over on the other side. So I feel like they had this nice thing with the Raw After Mania and the marketing for it for that live crowd. But now it's probably, it's just part of the normal program. But, this is great to see that number. What that tells me also is Wrestlemania on Peacock probably did tremendous numbers.
It did. Yeah, they're saying it's double, right? 50% increase
Yes.
year over year from last year's show to today's. That's an interesting number, and we don't know what that means, right? We don't know. We don't have those numbers, but I would say, do you think 1 million people watch WrestleMania this year? I think 1 million people watch WrestleMania.
I think it has to be way more than that, don't you think? Because okay, so let's go back to the pay-per-view universe.
And I don't think it is, and I'll tell you why. I don't think it is. They did not say.
I'll set it up.
They didn't say.
Okay.
Yes, give me the setup.
Okay, so if we go all the way back to when WrestleMania's on pay-per-view, let's say I think the Donald Trump WrestleMania was 1.2 million buys or something like that, right?
It is at 1.23, I think.
And if you, I don't know what the homes per household were at that point, but you could probably multiply that number by 3, especially when it comes to WrestleMania. Like, not too many people watch WrestleMania by themselves. It's usually a part of a big wrestling party. So let's say there were 5 million people watching that show. I gotta imagine there's over that number of households, and then you multiply by, maybe 2 or 3 because it's cheaper. You don't have to all buy into a pay-per-view. There's probably more people watching by themselves these days. I have to imagine there's at least 3 million, 4 million people watching that show.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, with those numbers, yes. But, they don't know how many people know. But if this was the most watched as far as like views, concurrent views or whatever, however they gauge it, they would have said this was the most watched WrestleMania of all time. They could throw that number. They didn't, but they did say it was a 50% increase year over year. What do you think that number is?
That's what Heyman said in his promo, right?
That's what Heyman said. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what that number is. I'm very curious to find out. I don't know if we ever will until they beat that Trump number, right? As far as, live views, but I would imagine it has to be over 1 million people. Has to be.
I'm going to do something that I sometimes do on other podcasts that I don't think I've done here yet. I'm going to send a text to Dave while we're recording and see if I get an answer back.
Yeah, let's do it. Tell him we're live. Say Andrew and I are live. We really need to know this.
Sometimes I'll be doing a podcast and it'll be like late at night and it'll be about like 1998 WWE, and he's like, boom, like 30 seconds later he's back with the answer. It's amazing.
I love it.
Okay, so if we talk a little bit about this show, this Raw, Cody Rhodes comes out and he opens up the show and does a super melodramatic promo. It's all about his dad. He chokes up 2 different times. Yeah. And it's almost like it's interesting because he's such a good performer. And I know some people who didn't like that promo because they just figured, it's just the same old stuff that Cody always does. But what I liked about the promo, and then I'll tell you what I dislike, and then I want to hear what you liked and disliked. What I liked about the promo is he understood the moment, right? He understood the importance of that, and he made sure, whether you like the promo or not, he made sure to put on a really good performance of an interview. Echoed things from the past about his dad. He mentioned Hogan, boo. Taker, cheer. Shawn Michaels, cheered. so funny. Hogan has such a love-hate
They booed
relationship.
Hogan.
I
Yeah,
know.
I know they booed Hogan.
What's up with that? So then, well, I mean, I guess if we think about it, it's understandable because of the racism stuff around him that came out. But
Yeah,
so that's probably why. But okay, so the moment he understood it, he was ready for it. I'm sure he prepared this promo knowing that this is what was going to happen. So I thought that was really good. What I thought was a little over the top was what comes across to me as a little bit of prepared emotion, right? I can't tell if that emotion about his dad being his hero and his dad telling him why he didn't win the title in that photo, like all that stuff. I'm not sure I bought that was real emotion, like off the cuff,
yeah,
AEW style promo that's not written. It felt like a really written promo, very WWE promo. And I'm almost to the point of where, in parentheses, it was like, make sure you cry right here. So I may be being a little hard on him. Otherwise, I thought it was a really good performance. What did you think of that promo to open up Raw?
So you want me to be honest?
Yeah, of course.
I will be honest, okay? And I'm gonna rewatch it again. I was not blown away by the promo,
Okay. That's
and
fair.
I'm gonna tell you why. Right? It was a Cody promo, which I'm always a fan of, but I felt that you took out a lot of the things that made it feel genuine by obviously having scripted points and scripted moments in it. And you could tell when listening to the promo which points were Cody's and what was a WWE injection. And even the tone in the words he was using was changing from sentence to sentence when it was his and when it wasn't his. I found that to be the Cody's always over the top. He's a great actor, and that's something you need to be in wrestling. You need to be a great actor, but he's an actor in his own words.
Yes.
He's an actor in the words of a writer that's assisting you with this promo. There were a couple of those moments that I watched, and I thought, okay, this is definitely not him. This is what they gave him. I don't know. I was a little conflicted on how I felt. There were moments of that promo that were really good, but there were also some moments that took me out of it because I could be just me looking at it as, is this his or is this WWE's? And I'm sure that he was nervous as hell also. This is his moment. This is Cody's big moment to solidify himself as as a world champion in WWE, something his dad never did. Obviously, that's going to be the big story here. It's going to be to surpass his father in that sense. I hope he does. I really hope he does, and I really hope he becomes a top guy in that company. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for WWE in this case because I think this is good for wrestling if Cody works. But dude, I'm gonna be so honest with you, and I texted you this, and I'm sure people get upset with me when I say this, but after going to SummerSlam, I came out a different person when I watched WWE, and it just feels super highly produced and scripted. And I felt that this is what it was: highly produced, highly written out, and it fit the style of a WWE promo that I feel that they need to break a little bit. And I think with a guy like Cody, with having the control he does, I want to see him break that mold a little bit more. Does that make sense?
I think it's a great point. It's a great point because you want to distinguish him from just being part of the roster, right? And one of those things is the promo style. Now, it was very much a promo style of Cody, but he's using words like bestow. And I'm like, I've talked to Cody in person. I don't think he's ever used the word bestow in front of me before.
Maybe he could use it. He uses that. Oh, I bestowed upon.
Exactly. Yeah. The one thing though is I'm just rooting for this dude because I want to see WWE take advantage of opportunities like AEW has going the other way, and B, this guy has a great story when you think about it. He comes up the son of Dusty Rhodes as somebody who we all thought could probably be a pretty big star, gets kind of caught up in, the WWE system in a negative way. He goes through a bunch of different gimmicks with Legacy with Randy Orton and Ted DiBiase Jr., dashing Cody Rhodes. I had a little fun with that one. Remember when he had the mustache?
I like the
And
mustache. I liked it when he thought he was ugly. I like that whole thing. That was a great. I very much enjoyed it. I have a question for you,
yeah.
Garrett.
Uh-huh.
Did you see my tweet that I put out? I thought you might want to follow up on this about the comment WWE said to me. Somebody from WWE said to me at 10:30 at night on night one.
Did I miss this tweet? I
So
have you on notifications. How did I miss it?
I had to delete. I had to delete the tweet because there was a typo.
That's
in
why
it,
I missed it.
Right?
Oh,
I spelled
okay.
Nick Khan's name wrong, so I had to redo it, and I reposted it.
Okay.
So, listen, it's always interesting when I get a text during a pay-per-view or a show from somebody at WWE, because that's rare, right? Because they're all, especially like the people that I speak to over there, it's like everybody, all hands on deck, especially at WrestleMania. But, I reached out to congratulate this person. I'm like, hey, you guys, did a fantastic job. Congratulations. The Cody stuff was great. Like super friendly, because I'm really friendly with this guy.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, I'll give you a little insight. Everybody here is considering the situation, like the Cody deal.
Mm-hmm.
They described it as a snatched in the middle of the night type of situation.
Okay, I did see this tweet. Yes,
okay.
I did see this.
So,
okay.
So when I put that out, I know exactly what he meant, but I think a lot of people thought it was like a last-minute contract.
Yeah.
But it was more in terms of they snatched him away from AEW in the middle of the night. It came out of nowhere. Like their concept is that they blindsided Tony Khan or whoever was working on the deal by convincing Cody. And Bruce Pritchard being a major player in this is interesting to me, that it was Bruce that kind of spearheaded this entire thing, which makes a lot of sense due to the connection with Dusty. But Vince and Nick Khan were also very hands-on to make sure it was completed. So maybe some of the hiccups that people were talking about is when Vince and Nick got involved to kind of get it done.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I think about what all the things that we've been talking about. Now, in the beginning, what they may be alluding to is in the beginning when Cody's contract was up, the AEW side was, we're just working on it, right? Like nothing's the problem. Because remember, people were like, "Oh, is he going to show up at Royal Rumble?" Remember, like that was the big thing. And so from that point, then there was a status that said, "Oh, he's not re-signing." So from that point on, I don't really believe that story. But if we go all the way back to the beginning of the contract situation, then yeah, I could definitely see that because, but here's the greatest thing for wrestlers about being free agents is you can create your character anew at the other place if it works out for you. Because think about all the boos that Cody got in AEW in the last 6 months of his career, and at least on the first 2 nights here on WrestleMania and the Raw after WrestleMania, it was all cheers, right? They were very, very happy to see him. So that's a great thing for people knowing, the other way around. Obviously, the AEW fans really love it when they get a guy from WWE. But now let's see that crossover and let's see that keep happening. But the one thing I wanted to mention, going through all those characters, this is really a great comeback story because if you remember going back, what was it, 3 years when he wrote that list of all the people he wanted to wrestle, like at that point when he left WWE, he could have been like, I'm going to go find something else to do because obviously he's talented in other arenas, right? But no, he's using the wrestling as the base of being able to do other things, and he knew that he needed it to be that, and doing these TV shows, and if he's still going to do Go Big Show, and he's going to be or he's going to be helping with the production of the A&E documentary on his dad. So all of those things happen because of wrestling. But this is a great story because when he leaves WWE, he has a plan. Part of that plan, I don't know if AEW was ever in the original plan, but it became part of that plan. And then now coming back to WWE, whether he originally thought he was going to or not, there's been interviews out there where he said, I can never see myself going back, right? He's said that in interviews. Whatever, it's now part of the story, and I think it's a nice little circle. And if WWE gets this right, it is the blueprint for other people to come back to
They
WWE.
have to get it right. They
Yeah.
have to get it right.
Yeah.
This isn't a matter of, like, oh, hopefully a year from now, Cody will be champion. They have to get it right for optics reasons, for PR
Yep.
reasons. Their biggest issue is the perception of what WWE is. I know what it is, but a lot of people don't look at it the same way that I do. I don't look at this as pro wrestling anymore. I really, really don't. I look at it as a total package type situation as a company. They're a media conglomerate that has wrestling elements in it, but they're more of the entertainment aspect of it. This WrestleMania was exactly what Vince McMahon has always envisioned. I turned into Vince Russo there, bro. Let me tell you. I don't know. It's the New York. Sometimes it's just like, all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, you
also
did the "Can I be honest with you" earlier, which is the Vince Russo go-to line.
I did.
Can I be honest with you,
bro?
You made a great point about how you see WWE through a little bit of different eyes now. And when we were talking earlier, I said the way that you and I watch wrestling today isn't necessarily like, oh, we're just fans watching the show like we were when we were 13 years old. WWE, the in-ring, the show is just marketing for their business, right? It's just marketing for all the other things that they sell. And so when you look at it like that, some of this stuff is not very entertaining, but you kind of like we're both looking at this in a slightly different way than a normal fan would just do it to watch, because of the way that we cover it, and because of this show, because of the other shows that I do with Dave. Like, I can't, because I do a show with Dave, I cannot go into that show going like, wow, that was a joyous 2 nights of wrestle. Like, that can't be my mentality, right? I have to break things down in a way that is sort of digestible to the kind of show that he does. So
does
it's just
take the fun out of it for you?
I would say no, because I think if I looked at it like the fan that I was when I was 13, I probably would have stopped watching wrestling at 14.
Very disappointed. Yeah.
The business piece of it and the insider piece of it, and like that, just being so fascinated by what's going on in the business, that's what's kept me being a fan more than the in-ring, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So what about also on Raw? We had Braun Breaker winning his NXT championship back from Dolph Ziggler, a title that he didn't win on the NXT Stand and Deliver. So I get it. It's on the bigger show, more 2.1 million people, we just said, on average, watched. I get it. More people saw Braun than ever, and you hope that translates back to NXT. But as an NXT fan, as somebody who watches NXT every week because of the show that I do here, the Fight Game Podcast with John LaRocca, that is our deal, Dynamite and NXT. I was so disappointed because I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that the stuff that I watch regularly is not as important as Monday Night Raw. And in the big picture, it's not. But for that brand, the loyal viewer of NXT who watched that pay-per-view or that Stand and Deliver show, that wasn't good enough. And now you're saying that Raw is really the thing that counts. So that's what I was frustrated with. There's a business aspect to this that I'm sure that they thought about that was better to do it here, better for eyeball, whatever. I get that piece, but I felt ripped off, man, as an NXT viewer to see that happen on Raw and not happen on Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, I asked somebody this morning about this, and I think Brian on the show with Dave last night mentioned that he knew about this at 11 a.m. sometime. So there was a decision done in the morning. When I asked, it was to keep the momentum across all their shows this week for a higher rating. So,
and it makes sense,
they want to
right?
gauge, and it makes a lot of sense because this will now boost the number, and next year after WrestleMania, that Tuesday, they're going to be able to determine what they've done throughout the year, if it's a plus or a minus. That was the entire purpose of this, to pop the number for Tuesday. I think it's good for Braun if you're building this guy as the man. You eventually you want him to kind of be on Raw a little bit and see a title change on there. I didn't hate it, honestly. I know a lot of people were upset over it, and they thought that it should have he should have hung on to the title or won it. I was gonna say Zack Ryder. I don't know. This is like the fourth time I've done this. Dolph Ziggler. All those names are the same from that
Yeah,
right?
totally, totally.
Dolph
They're all built
Ziggler,
similarly.
Zack Ryder. So I think for Dolph, if he kept the title and dropped it on Tuesday, I don't think that would have made a big difference for the rating on Tuesday. But
No,
dropping on Monday and then going into Tuesday, I think it was a smart decision to make if that's your goal to pop the rating.
what you just said is it makes so much sense, which is you saw that Friday SmackDown rating, which was great. You get the Monday rating, which is great. And then hopefully the NXT rating is the bigger number that they've done
680
in
maybe
quite a while.
720.
Yeah,
680 to 720. I would be shocked if it's below 680. I'd be surprised.
yeah. So I after just saying that I look at this through a different lens, and then I kind of went back to being a little bit of a fan. And what you said makes 100% sense. 100%. By the way, I do have an update from Dave Meltzer on
Oh,
how many people he
do it.
thinks would have watched on Peacock. Okay,
Okay.
now let's preface this. Don't aggregate this. This is just a guess. This is just his educated guess. He said in the U.S., he would guess a little under 1.5 million.
Wow,
And then
that's
I said,
great.
how many viewers per household? And he said, more than 2, probably not 3. So let's
Okay.
multiply that number by 2.5, and that's where you would get the total viewership of that show. So that's still pretty big. Now, again, maybe WrestleMania 3, you had more people per household, or WrestleMania 23, sorry. You had more people per household, and maybe you get a slightly bigger number. But still, that's a good number of people to watch that show. And then there's the synergy, Peacock and Raw and NXT, across the board. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was very, very successful. But you know what it does show you is that you can go back 20 some odd years and you see those giant ratings numbers for Raw, and TV has just changed so much. Like the Duke North Carolina game was on while WrestleMania Night 1 was going on. And so that thing did I think 16 million, maybe a little bit more than 16 million. And like to college basketball fans, you go back years and years and years, and some of those games would be doing over 20 million. So it's just things drop. Live sports have held up the best. The NFL, big time college football games, big time college basketball games, those things have held up, and we'll see what happens with the NBA finals, because the NBA ratings have not knocked anybody's socks off these last couple years. But yeah, so good stuff, good numbers, and I hope that now, how about let's keep up some of this momentum, right? Let's do some good stuff so that people continue to watch, and that's kind of all I'm hopeful for.
Listen, they got Ezekiel on Raw now, so I got to tell you, if those ratings aren't going in the upward direction, I think we have a big problem. That guy's a big star.
I saw the tweets before I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, Ezekiel Jackson is back. He kind of fits. He's a huge human being." But no, it was a different Ezekiel. All right, one more thing on Raw, and then we'll just kind of hit Mania nights 1 and nights 2 and see what you liked the best and what I liked the best. But question for you:
Yes,
there was a tweet earlier today by Malachi Black about the Edge and Damian Priest thing, and how it's a little bit of a copycat.
a little bit.
So you do believe it's a copycat angle of the House of Black?
I think I'm going to say parallel thinking, parallel creative. I mean, Edge was always a spooky guy. Okay.
Yeah.
From day one, he was always
Brood, yeah.
he was always a Dracule. Now he's like a total Dracule, right? Like he's playing. That entrance was really cool. He's always like dabbled in that. I think now he's become the Undertaker. I guess he is their Undertaker.
I got Interview with a Vampire in the modern day kind of vibes to it because they looked pretty slick in those suits, right? Those suits
No, I
are
want a Nosferatu type gimmick for him. I want him to come out with the hands like this and just like sit up from the coffin. I don't hate it. I like the spooky gimmick. I'm
yeah.
into the spooky guys.
Has he overstayed his welcome? He's not getting the
No,
reactions that
I,
I think
Garrett,
his
I don't think he
style of
did.
work should. No.
I don't think he's overstayed his welcome, but I think the big problem is him getting hurt kind of derailed the plans, but they didn't execute it properly. He definitely should have had a world title by now.
Mm-hmm.
You should have put a title on that guy to solidify him as your listen. Brock Lesnar held the title, Goldberg held the title. Why aren't you putting that belt on Edge and have him be the man to beat on one of those rosters? Like imagine if that Edge and Styles match was for the title. I know that it wasn't going to happen, but
Yeah.
let's say it was. What is the important? I thought that match was going to be the match of the night, and it really wasn't. It didn't come out the way that I thought it would have. And that was
No.
shocking to me. That was the biggest surprise for me is that how it was still a really good match. It just wasn't over the top. I would not have anticipated Cody and Seth being better than Edge and Styles. And no knock at either person. I think that just how the match was done, it didn't fall in place. But if that match was for a title, I'm willing to bet they would have upped the ante a little bit more and it would have been a knockout, home run of a match. Edge should have had the title by now. I think now they're maybe going to use him to elevate younger talent. I mean, obviously giving the rub to Damian Priest and whoever else joins that faction, but you got it. You should have done it already. It's I get it, but you should have put a title on that guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's where, I guess right now, Roman Reigns says he's going to talk on SmackDown about what's next. But if we split that belt up again, maybe it becomes a Cody versus Edge thing or, whatever they're going to do. I hope they have really good ideas for this stuff because I think they have a good opportunity with Cody to, keep some of these eyeballs that they had from WrestleMania. Okay, so let's talk about WrestleMania. So night 1 and night 2. I'm kind of interested. I'm going to throw some things at you. I just kind of really want to know, what you really liked and what what you were disappointed in. But let's start with Bianca and Becky. It was my prediction to be kind of like the follow that match of the weekend because the way that they were positioned. Um, there was there was lots of rumors about whether or not Ronda was happy or not that night, knowing that she was not going to be in the main event. But Bianca and Becky had this great opportunity to kind of over deliver based on expectation because of where they were, and I thought that they did. It was a little. It wasn't great early on, but they really picked it up. And man, that Bianca Belair really projects that moment so well. Like she comes across as how can you just not be happy for her? Like this is 2 WrestleManias in a row, right? Where the part of the story of this match is you just wanted her to win. Like that was like she's got something there that just makes you root for her all the time.
Yeah, I like Bianca. Everything you said, I agree with. She's very likable. I want to root for her. The fans are chanting Becky on Monday to her. So I don't know what that means in the
I
long
think they
run.
were
But
just trying to be a Raw after Mania crowd. They were just doing a very poor
okay,
job of it.
yeah, they were not a Raw after Mania crowd for sure. I think WWE needs to go back to Montreal and teach the crowd again, like how to be out of their minds a little bit, because that's a fantastic crowd whenever they go to Montreal. I I think the match was a little slow in the beginning. But think about how they got to this point. They cut off Becky's hair before the show, right? Before the pay-per-view. And they alluded that Becky's going to chop off Bianca's hair. Never happened. It was almost like done in reverse.
I know. That's why I was asking. I don't know if I asked you, but I couldn't understand the storyline. Like, why did they do that? Did Becky just want a haircut, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, we'll just do it on
Maybe.
TV"?
Maybe.
Interesting.
I I don't know. I have no answer.
Yeah.
I found that whole lead up to be very strange how they did it.
Okay, so the natural comparison is because both women's title matches were on night one. Did you like Ronda and Charlotte? Were you disappointed? What was your? I mean, I think the crowd, outside of maybe one or two spots in the end, they were not impressed or excited about this match in any way.
No, and I would have. Here's a question: if that match was the opener, how would the crowd have been in the match?
Oh,
It was
probably
already
much
late.
much higher for it. Though the finish, they would have been pretty deflated for that finish, I think.
Yeah,
Still,
the finish was a deflating finish. It was okay, right? It was. I don't think it was a bad match. I just feel that it was an okay match. Uh I don't know why they did things the way they did. Obviously, they have a reason, but it was fine. It was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was. I think at that point, they were suffering from the anticipation of the main event.
yeah, yeah.
At that point, everybody was waiting for the Austin thing, and there's nobody that could follow Austin. I mean,
Yeah, imagine if
thank
this
God.
was the main event, right? Imagine
Oh,
if they
it would have been over.
oh, it would have been rough.
Yeah, people would have left
Um,
early. People would have left.
so if this sets up WrestleMania Backlash and Ronda gets her big win, I get it. I just don't know if they have great chemistry together. The match was maybe they thought that the sort of non-cooperation stuff that was happening, maybe that was what they thought was like, oh, see, this is going to be different because these women really hate each other, so it's going to look like they're not cooperating. But it just looked like they were off tempo with each other. And I love Ronda. I go back to I think I mentioned on this show how far I go back with Ronda. I want to see her excel. I want to see her be great. And her return has been a little bit lesser than for me. And I don't know, something's up with Charlotte too. Like she has not been the
The same.
superstar that she was if you go back a couple years. Because I've always been a Charlotte defender, but I think she's been lapped. Right? I think she's been surpassed by Becky. I think she's been surpassed by Sasha. And I think she's just about been surpassed by Bianca as well. Like if you look at the hierarchy of the women wrestlers in WWE today, I think I'd put her fourth right now.
It could be, it honestly could be just exhaustion. She's been around forever. She only goes away for short periods of time. She doesn't go away for long periods of time. Maybe she just needs to go away for a little bit and then refresh whoever, whatever the next version of her is going to be. It's been the same Charlotte for a while,
Yeah.
right? And I get it. Sometimes you don't need to change the gimmick, but maybe tweak it a little bit or give her something a little bit more. She's a very good heel, and I think a lot of people get confused that with her because of her personality and everything else going on. I think there's a lot of blending of reality with her. Maybe she just needs to go away for a couple months and then come back and start fresh again. I think that could be a problem too. I agree with you. Becky, she gets way more hate than I see anybody else. Like Becky never gets the hate that Charlotte gets, but is it because of her or is it because of the personality that she projects on TV? I think it's the personality she projects on TV because these people don't know her.
I agree with you. I do wonder if some of that is her frustration bleeding into her character too. Sometimes it could be.
Yeah.
But look, like I said, I was a giant Charlotte fan. I used to love watching her wrestle. I still think she can be very good at times, but there's something there creatively that's a little bit stuck with her. And I think she's talented enough to figure it out. I'm not saying she needs to go babyface, but I do think she needs to change up her character a little bit because the queen character is running dry for a lot of people, I think, not just me. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's get to the fun of this show. The KO show with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens. Did the length of this match surprise you? Because I couldn't believe how long they went with this thing.
Yeah, it was long. Oh, sorry, I had to sneeze. I had to mute my audio. I was like, oh
Once I
no.
saw the video, I was like, oh, sneeze is coming.
Uh,
I want to hear it. And then you muted the sneeze.
I muted it. I gotta say, there were a couple of things that surprised me. It was exactly what I thought it would be. You know, it was going to be a brawl,
Yeah.
a lot of like shenanigans, smoke and mirrors, all that stuff. Um, I had one big shock that Austin took a backdrop on the concrete on the
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, the suplex.
I,
Yeah.
that was actually shocking. I was like, okay. The only gripe I had, I thought it was done perfectly. I was happy with it. If I'm going to be nitpicky with any of it, I'm going to say him drinking so much beer during the match took me out of it a little bit.
I think it was water for him because he was like tired, you know? Like it was like
he was gassed out. He was just
I
he
think
needs
so.
a refresh.
I think so. I think that's
that was
really
the
what it
only
was for
thing.
him.
That was the only thing I would say. But listen, man, 57 years old. He hasn't done this in 20 years. A lot of comparison to Sting here, but to give Austin a little credit, Sting's been active for way more of the last 20 years than Austin has.
Two different comebacks.
It was, when you watch it the way we watch wrestling, like he looked great in so much that he did, and then there were other things that you're like, okay, you know what? He's feeling it.
Yeah.
He's feeling it. I was hoping we'd get a shirtless Austin. We did not get that. I was very disappointed he didn't take his shirt off.
2 nights, no shirt off.
2 nights, no shirt. So I thought it was great. That match, they did everything the right way. Austin was great. Kevin Owens was great. Fantastic.
So was that the send-off? Or is he waking up? He's probably not feeling great today, but maybe by Friday he's like, I actually feel okay. Because he kind of teased a little bit of a send-off on I think the Twitter interview that he did, that short little interview. But I do wonder if he, if they flash a little bit more cash at him, if he can come back and do it again. If not, it was the perfect 2 nights of him going away. I feel like I was able to say goodbye to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
They said it in different ways, right? Like he said that he started his career in Dallas and he wants to end it, right? Then he alluded to that in a way.
Yeah.
Then they kept mentioning it on commentary that this is like, I don't remember the exact word, but they pretty much alluded that it's over. Like this is it. He looked really good. I thought he looked better the next day, night 2, than he did. He was moving way better on night 2 than he did, getting in there on night 1. His stunners look better on night 2 for sure. I'm not against it, man. I'm not against one more match if they could put it together for a lot of money. I'm not against it. But, if this is the end, I'm totally satisfied, and this was great. We finally got to see him one last match. He was with someone that took care of him, well-deserved. And he could go off, and we could say that was the last Steve Austin match. Way better than Shawn Michaels, I'll tell you that. Way better last match. Shawn should have never come back. Austin came back, and it worked out for him.
Well, yeah, Shawn comes back on one of those shows. What was it? A tag team match with him and Triple H against Undertaker and Kane.
But it's not his fault either. And by the way, he didn't look bad at all. Shawn looked great. He was moving fine, but it was just Hunter tore his arm off.
I don't want to watch a Shawn Michaels match where he doesn't have long hair though.
I know. Do you want to see him in Styles though? If they gave it to you today, would you want to watch it? Like, would you root for this?
Him and Styles, huh? That's an interesting question. I don't know. I feel like I would want to see somebody else with Shawn than Styles, but yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say no, right? You just watch it for the spectacle of it to see if Shawn still had it or could go, and he probably could. He probably could have a pretty good 12 to 15-minute match, but maybe not to what he wants it to be. But yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay, let's go to night 2. So we had Triple H coming out early to start the show, actually, to start the main card. And he does the long entrance. And look, he deserved all of that, right? This was the perfect time to do it. But I'm not going to lie. In the back of my mind, I was like, oh man, I hope New Day doesn't get cut again. because this thing was long. This guy
Yeah.
didn't talk forever. Does the water spit, does the boots thing, and it was a really nice moment. But after what they did to the New Day on night one, I was kind of just watching the clock for a lot of the stuff, going like, man, where can they fit these guys in? And then they did, and it was like a 1 minute and 45-second match, which was very sad as well. But what did you think of Triple H?
Great. I think they did a good job. I thought he did. He was fine. It's sad that it's over for him. He's not going to wrestle again. I can't ever imagine that this is going to be one that doesn't come back from retirement. He has a series of problems. Good send off. If this was it, he left the boots in the ring. All right, cool. He did it at WrestleMania.
So they also showed Gable Steveson a couple times. And then he was also he also came out after the Raw Triple Threat match, which was probably the best match, I would say, on night 2. But I thought it was hilarious because on night 1, when they announced Gable, like he kind of did the wave and stuff. And then I was like, oh, his brother is right next to him. And his brother is in NXT right now, Bobby Steveson. And so Gable's like waving and Bobby's just kind of turn around. And he's got the camera. And then Triple H comes out. What's the first thing that he does? He hugs Gable Steveson. And I was just like, man, Bobby's got to just be like, guys, I'm right here. I'm right next to him. Like we're related. You signed both of us. But it was Gable's the bigger name. So, okay.
What did you think of Gable's stuff?
Yeah, whatever. Like I don't think we're gonna really know what to think of him until
it's too early.
He actually does it full time. Yeah. Because there's the celebrity aspect of it, right? Like there's still the celebrity aspect of it to a certain fan base. I'm sure to a lot of people, they still don't really know who he is. And he's going to be able to keep doing that. They're making him feel like an interesting deal. But it's really going to be, can he be a good professional wrestler? Does he have the charisma to be a good professional wrestler? We know that he'll be good in the ring because he's such a great athlete. And I'm sure he'll pick it up. But it's the charisma piece and the booking, right? Like the creative about him. Are they going to make him feel like a big deal?
Kurt Angle, when he debuted, I remember specifically. I mean, we know how much charisma Kurt Angle has naturally, right? Naturally charismatic. Naturally, it worked out for him. But when he was on camera, the biggest thing was that he doesn't have the charisma. He's a great athlete, but look how he talks. It's very monotone. But it was kind of by design. But you could teach if he's willing to become that person. I think Gable could become a tremendous character for them. He just has to learn it. He's never had to. Same Angle was like that too. Angle was a straight. His gimmick was that
Angle didn't understand that by doing the 3 eyes stuff that he was actually going to be a heel. He's like, how can you get a heel? I'm an Olympic gold medalist. And they're like, no, dude, just wait. Just wait.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. It was brilliant what they did.
Yeah.
All right. So then I mentioned that triple threat Raw tag match. I thought it was the best match on night 2. It was really fun. Looking for the RKO. That's always fun. Those teams, they had really good chemistry. Could it have been a longer match? Could it have been less of a high spotty match? Sure, but that was a great opener, right? You contrast that with what opened on the night before with the SmackDown tag match, and unfortunately, Boogs got hurt. Even before he got hurt, it wasn't that good, but maybe they would have had a better match. But this was the perfect opener, I thought. And then, now, this is where I'm really interested in your feedback, even more so than we'll get to Austin and Vince 2022.
I can't wait.
Jackass, Johnny Knoxville, Wee Man. What'd you think of that?
I think you and everybody else knows my opinion of Jackass, and it's not my deal. It never did it for me. But I have to tell you, I loved every second of that stupid match. It was the dumbest match to have, and it was absolutely perfect for what it was. I got to tell you, my whole house, everybody stopped because I had a bunch of people over. Everybody stopped and they're like, "What the hell is happening?" It was everybody that I spoke to said that was their favorite match. Kids, all the kids that I know that were, because I surveyed them, obviously. I send out a text blast to all the children that I know. I'm like, this is a very important question, and you need to answer it. No, like all my friends, all their kids, they were like, yeah, they loved it. They loved that match. So it was a total success. It worked for exactly what it was. The wrestling was atrocious, but it didn't matter.
So, would Jackass be like, whose era is Jackass? When did Jackass actually become famous? I feel like I was
20 years ago, but it's continued with the movies.
Yeah,
they just released that new movie.
I'm trying to. Yeah,
the new movie
I think I'm
out.
like 20. I would have probably been in my, I don't know, late teens, early 20s or
99?
so when it became pretty interesting. Maybe, yeah, early 20s for me then. But I
So
like
2000.
you, I was never into it. I was never a big Jackass guy. I found Johnny Knoxville to be pretty funny sometimes, but the stunt stuff and that kind of stuff, it was never my thing. But did you see what Mark Henry tweeted after someone had sent him a photo of that giant hand that Sammy ran into? Somebody made a meme that said Mark Henry and Mae Young's son debuts at Wrestlemania.
That's brilliant. That's
and
hysterical.
So Mark Henry retweeted that and said, "All I do is produce generational talent."
Fucking great.
He was in on the
so
joke.
Good.
Good
so
for him.
Good. He got it.
All right. So then we had Austin Theory and Pat McAfee, the semi-main event of night 2.
Loved all of it.
That'll be a history or a trivia question.
Yeah.
That match was great. Pat's stage presence was tremendous.
How great is that guy?
That, like, I would have been. I was just like, oh my god. I think he wrestled on NXT and then did the War Games pay-per-view. This is like multiply that times 100. And but he's he's an NFL player. He's played football in front of 75,000 fans before, so that was great. The stage presence was great. They had a really good match, I thought, for what their level of expertise. Both, it's not like Austin Theory's had 100 matches either, and all praise to him because young dude, giant stage, Austin, Vince, Pat McAfee. And he's just kind of there, right? He's like wide-eyed, like, oh my gosh. Both guys did a tremendous job. So, the thing is, I did I ask you this last week? If you thought Vince was going to take a bump?
I said yes. Yeah. I said that Vince was going to get involved. Yeah. And you know what? I got to tell you, big ups to Big Dave Meltzer, because all I saw on Twitter, right? All I saw on night 1 and night 2 were just, Dave Meltzer said that, Vince McMahon, this old man, is going to wrestle and you guys bought it. Guess what? He did. He did. You know what? So who has egg on their face now? You.
Those people don't care. Those people don't even care how wrong they are. That's what's sad. It's like they just lean into being wrong.
Yeah, because they have no problem being wrong. They want you to be wrong more. They take joy in you failing or you being wrong. But listen, I got to tell you, when Vince started unbuttoning that shirt, I yelled out loud. I looked at my wife and I said, "Oh my God, it's happening." I was so excited to see this. I don't care how terrible everything was. I don't care at all. I have to tell you, this was fantastic. He looked great. Vince Vince doing anything like that is always just, I can't believe this man is doing it. How old is he? 74, 75, 76? 74.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. He didn't even
know how old he was. I don't even think. That's all he did. That's all he's doing. I loved it, man. I loved it. What did you think?
Okay, so as this moment happens, as Vince takes his shirt off, you send me a text, and all it says is OMG with like 27 exclamation points. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my return tweet or my return text back is something like, "This man's a grandfather, by God," or something like that. And it was the most, I mean, almost as unbelievable as some of the Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn stuff, right? Because all he did was raise his arm so that Pat
Yeah.
McAfee could
Short
run
arms.
into it. That's all he did.
Yeah.
Now, worst match in WrestleMania history, if we call that a match, is probably what we saw. Did it take away a lot of the buzz from Pat winning? Yeah, I didn't think Pat had
Yes.
to lose to Vince McMahon. That's an ego thing for him. And then, so on Friday,
I mean, but let me ask you. Hold on. Let me ask you this. Why turn it into a match?
Vince probably thought, well, if Steve's going to do it, I'm going to do it.
That's really. I'm telling you, that's probably what it was. If Steve's having a match, my God, I'm gonna show him. You know,
There's
I think it
no
was just
Steve
like a
Austin
joke.
without Vince McMahon. Okay,
No,
so
and you know what? If it was like, hey, I'm Vince McMahon, F it, I could have a match whenever I freaking feel like it. If it was that, good for you.
So Friday, we did a Twitter Spaces for the Fight Game Media Twitter account. And I was asking people, is Vince McMahon going to take a bump? Almost everyone said no. I think one other person said yes. And I said, what if Vince is double teaming Pat McAfee, and then you hear the glass break, and then Austin comes in, and then Austin gives him a stunner. And people were like, oh, yeah, that would totally be cool. Now, did I know it was going to happen? Did I have any information? It was complete 100% guess. So, as they're setting it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're actually going to do this.
Yeah.
And then Vince screws the whole thing up. They play Austin Theory's music.
Oh,
and Vince does the eyes like somebody is coming out. And then he goes, oh, because he jumped the gun on the stupid thing.
He did jump the gun. So I didn't notice that. I was enamored by his sheer physique, his arms. So, actually, let me ask: who has bigger arms, Dave or Vince at this point? Dave's arms are huge compared to Vince's.
That's a good question. I would say, well,
text Dave and ask him. It's an important question for the
show. So you know, Dave is in his early 60s, and he doesn't have the saggy skin like Vince. Like Vince is older. Yeah. Dave is not as big as Austin, but he's even more cut than Austin is. So that can give you an idea of what Dave looks like. But he will say today that he hasn't been really working out that much as well. So, okay. So then when Vince screws up the whole thing, and then we finally get the Austin, that was great. And so what I thought was, if Austin's going to go out, he should go out with his biggest rival, right? Austin and McMahon was such a big deal. Austin and McMahon probably is the reason why WWE was able to go public when they did, right? Because they were so popular. Absolutely. And it was all based on that. So, I was totally fine with that. I was totally fine with Vince and Austin being on the same show. Not that they needed to close a chapter of any way, but if Austin's going to do it, having Vince there by his side, I thought was kind of poetic there. So I was completely and totally happy with that.
Yeah. Okay. The stunner.
Okay. Yeah, we'd have to talk about that.
The stunner. I'm going to tell you something, and I don't care. It didn't bother me.
Well, it bothered them because did you see how they clipped it for Raw?
Oh, it definitely bothered them. They made the magic of editing. It looked fantastic on Raw. He's taken the worst stunners ever, right? He's this older man. He crumbled. He really did. And I got to tell you though, 10 out of 10 for playing dead.
I was like, oh my gosh, where did his kneecaps go? The way that he bent. I was like, does he have any kneecaps? Yeah.
I've never seen legs go sideways like that on both sides. Both legs went like this and then combined. Yeah. It was scary. Austin thought it was scary. It was a little scary, but you know what? It doesn't matter in the long run. These guys have had.
But what's even scarier? If I don't know if you know older people who sometimes lose their balance and they fall. They can't control themselves, right? So when Austin hits Vince in the gut, all Vince is supposed to do is just lean into the stunner, right?
Yeah.
And he lost his balance and he falls back and hits the ropes and like he can't control his body. And I was like, oh no, this is the opposite of what Vince wanted. This is why Vince doesn't come on TV
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but then Austin, like, Austin's a pretty strong dude. So he made sure that Vince was going to get back in position there. And then, like you said, Austin thought it was the funniest thing of all time. He was having so much fun with it.
Oh, he thought it was hysterical. I thought they would go back for another stunner. Like Vince would recover, and then he'd be like, "Okay, you good to do this one? All right," and then we'll do another one. I'm shocked they didn't call that. I think he
Theory
was
took
like,
a
"F it, I
great
just want to get out of
stunner.
here."
Theory took a
Fantastic
great
stunner.
one. Pat McAfee took a great one, and then he's supposed to be knocked out, and he's trying to drink a few sips of the beer. It was so good.
Listen, Pat McAfee lived his childhood dream yet on,
It was
on,
awesome.
on
That
Sunday.
dude is
Good for him.
Amazing. He's awesome.
I've become. I was not. I got to tell you, I've become a huge fan of his. One of my buddies, Jonathan, he's a huge fan of Pat McAfee's. He would listen to the podcast every day. He was a fan of his when he was playing football. Just the sheer story that this guy retired young, right? At 32, I think. He retired from the NFL. He decided to go in a whole different direction, and he's doing everything that he's ever wanted to do. He's doing a radio show. He did the thing with Barstool. He's all over the place. He's now the SmackDown color commentator, which I think he's one of the best on commentary in that company, and he's nowhere near traditionally trained for this. I give such credit to someone that invests, takes a risk on themselves, and is able to fulfill whatever they want to do. I think you want to talk about a WrestleMania moment. He had the WrestleMania moment. This guy comes out with the Dallas cheerleaders.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Punts the football, walking down
punts
the ramp.
the football. Yeah, awesome stuff.
He was fantastic. Like he's got it. Like he has the ability to entertain in a way that many people do not. He was awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we have to end it with this last match. And sorry, we're going a couple minutes overtime, but it was WrestleMania. Roman and Brock, they started out of the gate, hit all the big moves, and I thought right when Brock puts him in the Kimura and Roman's complaining about his shoulder, and Paul Heyman does that like inspirational yelling at him, telling him who he is, and I was like, okay, this is great. This is the turning point of the match. Now they're going to kick it into overdrive. We got 5 minutes of greatness coming. This is going to be their best match of all time. And then because I was like writing about the show as I was watching it, I went down and I wrote something and I looked up, and my guy Brock was looking at the lights and the match was over. And I was like, what is going on here? You guys had it. This was the moment. Now we're going to go and kick it in overdrive. And then it ended.
Dude, I got to tell you, I was beyond disappointed in that match. I think last week you spoke about this. This should be the last time these guys do this for a while. Maybe 10 years down the road. they could have one last match when one is in their 40s and the other one is in his 50s, and they decide to do these things. They had a standard by the books Brock Lesnar match and a standard by the books Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar match. It was, do you know how many? I think it was like a total of like under 10 moves the entire match. Suplex, Superman punch, spear, F5, another spear. I don't know what happened there. Like, if you are going to send people home, it's WrestleMania. This is the time that you bring out all the stuff that you don't see too often, especially with Brock Lesnar. Like, why is Brock Lesnar, a guy that's totally capable of doing everything, only doing, I don't know, three moves at WrestleMania? I don't know. Like, we know Roman.
One would say it's because he can, because it's really more about his presence and his, his aggression and stuff. I don't know. I think maybe if the Austin and Vince thing wasn't so entertaining, maybe we would have less of a problem with what they did. But after they saw what happened and they're like, we got to follow that. And then they still went home the time that they did.
I don't think they thought about it.
I don't know.
I don't think it was like, I don't even think, because I asked a couple of people, like, why? They're like, well, that's the match that they have. That was always the answer to me. Because I
No,
reached out
I
yesterday.
don't
I was
agree with
like,
that. These guys are great professional wrestlers. If they wanted to, they could have a fantastic match rather than the
the standard by the book.
the decent match that we
Yeah.
normally see from them. I saw
Oh,
it
we
at
got a
WrestleMania
Kimura.
31. Yeah,
We
got a
saw
Kimura.
Kimura in that match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a Kimura, so that's like move number 7.
Yeah, there you go.
I was just shocked at the lack of creativity. Like, it wasn't a bad match, right? Like,
No.
it wasn't terrible. It just, like, listen, we're having fun here, but I felt that this is your moment. You're combining these titles. You're solidifying Roman as, as Bruno, essentially, at this point. The man that's undefeatable. He's going to hold this title for a while. You have your other your biggest star of the last 20 years that you've created. How are you not having a attempt to have even a 5-star match? We know they don't care about the ratings and whatever, but you're still at WrestleMania. You go above and beyond at WrestleMania, and they didn't. I felt that they didn't go above and beyond. They just did their standard Roman, which is always a decent match, the standard Roman and Brock match. I want to see more. I want to see Brock Lesnar do a 450. Where's Roman Swanton?
Oh my god!
They could do an indie taker. I want to see all that. Can you imagine?
Super kick
with Paul Heyman. They turn on Paul Heyman.
Brock Lesnar just throws a super kick out of nowhere.
You know what? I would pay whatever I got in my pocket right now. Hold on, let's see what I got in my pocket. I got nothing in my pocket right now, but I would pay everything to see him do a super kick. I want to see Brock Lesnar with the thigh slap too. Definitely with a thigh slap.
It's got to be loud. All right, we're done here. What a 2 nights, and then yesterday Raw. We leaned heavily on WWE these last couple shows because it's WrestleMania weekend. We'll get back to both companies, AEW and WWE, and look, maybe even ROH. ROH had a show. Maybe even New Japan Strong. New Japan Strong had a show. So there's lots of wrestling going on. We'll even it out over the next couple weeks.
Yeah. What did you think before we end it? What did you think of that Ring of Honor show?
Solid. B plus. They had a great match. They had the tag team match was great. But there's something to there. It still looked like an indie show with very good production, and I don't know if I want to watch that as my main wrestling. Right? If we have the opportunity to do a bigger show, then let's just do a bigger show. Why does it have stuff to look like an indie show? That's my takeaway. Now I don't know what Tony Khan has for the future because he was, I'm sure this wasn't his idea to do the rebirth this way, but I want to see bigger upscale type presentation. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool stuff.
We're done here. We'll be back next week talking more wrestling stuff. Maybe we'll text Big Dave in the middle of the show again next week. You never know.
Oh yeah, let's keep doing that. Let that be the thing, and let's just keep asking him ridiculous questions. What do you like better, orange juice or grapefruit juice? Give us your opinion.
I mean, I can answer that question. This dude loves orange juice.
Does he really?
Go-to. This is go-to drink.
You know what, Garrett? I mean, the fact that you know this is fantastic to me.
If you go to a restaurant, Dave does not drink soft drinks.
No,
his first question is, do you have orange juice? And usually almost every place does, so that's what he gets. Orange juice.
Fascinating. Love it. I love it.
All right. We'll be back. For Andrew, I'm Double G. We'll see you when we see you. Peace out.